back here as Tempo Storm is up 2-0 over No Tomorrow. Maybe it's time for No Tomorrow to hook things in a different direction. Maybe take over control, because the battlegrounds that we've seen have been Tempo's battlegrounds, some of their best. Towers of Doom, I was checking it previously. No Tomorrow 0-7 coming into the weekend on Towers. Their lone win coming on Friday, putting that at 1-8 now. And it seems like those types of maps are exactly where Tempo Storm wants to be.
Yeah, anywhere where, I mean, No Tomorrow, their biggest strength throughout the entirety of the series is much like if you're looking at the last, right? It's the simplicity factor of macro, not the best. Teamfight can go toe-to-toe with the best that we have in North America, whereas Tempo is a team that, you know, well-rounded across the board, but their biggest advantage over No Tomorrow is that macro. So anything they can get that depends on that to get the upper hand there. But even in that last game, I feel like it's a little bit concerning because of how much No Tomorrow committed to the teamfight factor and how little it really seemed to matter, even for Tempo, purely based on the draft and ability to play around it.
Well, we mentioned macro in our last series on a previous map. I got news for you. This map, it's all about some macros. It's Sky Temple. But it was picked up by No Tomorrow, a map that they currently sit at 2-3 on 5 games overall, have picked this map 3 times themselves. So they are comfortable at least going to the battleground.
On a scale 1 to Brightwing, how are you feeling about this?
10, friend.
Yeah.
Did I hit it?
I don't. You did in my heart. I'm not sure you did in my ears, but definitely in my heart, JL.
That's okay, friend.
What are you? Okay, so
what, man? You've got to embrace the Brightwing, the creepy look and all.
Easy there, Smexy.
My eyes would be bright. Do you realize how bright these lights are? I'd have to go see an eye doctor after if I don't blink for more than every 5 seconds.
When knowing that No Tomorrow selected this battleground, the reason I asked about the Brightwing is not only are they more comfortable picking up, this is one of the better battlegrounds for her as a hero overall, but then also it puts it into a position where the early game skirmishes are really going to matter. I feel like now for No Tomorrow, they need to win those, and I can't help but feel like actually that Brightwing Chaos playstyle that they've been, in my mind, kind of relying on, right? Like, is that they put their opponent in that chaotic position. This is one of the battlegrounds they can get that in the early fight, snowball the game out of control, and actually maintain that lead long enough. And I do feel like Akaface is really going to be hinging on that, unless he can get access to the white main. That's the only way I feel that may be a different case here for them, but we'll find out. Is Hammer and Medivh taken off the table in the ban phase?
There hasn't been a high priority on Tyrande. She's hit the second ban phase each time. This is a battleground for scouting and determining your own rotations by way of vision. This is a map that if you're trying to get macro control, or at least thwart macro control, the vision here can help.
That's a really good point that you do bring up here. And it has been, I'm not gonna lie, I've been very surprised at the Tyrande priority here for these two teams. Tempo has been the one willing to ban it in the third ban. And I think it makes a little bit more sense for them. They're opening with a high primary support. We're seeing the low support value on the side of No Tomorrow, and then it puts them into a little bit more limited position. Just considering that Tyrande has been debatably first pick, first ban-ish for almost every other team, it's surprising to see that here. But this is a battleground where she can very much stand out. No Tomorrow concerned with the macro game. Take away the Dahaka.
There's only one hero I'm thinking about. Samuro. Don't know. Just give me that control. Give me a Samuro versus a Lost Vikings. Let's see who wins.
I think Samuro wins that one. Out of the group of heroes that can turn themselves into 3, I like Samuro more, is what I'm trying to say.
Samuro can beast mode one of those Vikings, be like, that's nice. You need a Viking. Look, it's highly unlikely we'll get either, but you know.
This is one of the best battlegrounds for Samuro, if we are going to get it. Tempo with the Maiev, though, don't know if it's catering to their play style too much here. No Tomorrow, gonna go ahead and get it, a Diablo. Man, I stuttered over the name purely on the fact that that's a name we haven't said outside of the ban phase. Feels like in a long while, but this is one of the battlegrounds. It's harder to find some of the shadow charge value.
Yeah. Top, there's not a lot of options. Mid, kinda, when you play towards the extreme top or bottom of that. Bottom's generally your best bet, as we'll see another Deckard pick for June. I mean, I'm starting to wonder if Deckard is June or June is Deckard at this point, because
they are one.
It feels that way.
Can we call him Dune?
It's probably better than Deckard.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's like the minute I thought about that name, I was like, I don't know what that means, but it sounds really weird and inappropriate. So I went with Dune.
We could call him Jukerd, like if he's out there juking abilities.
Maybe. I think that's a bit of a stretch. We'll figure it out. We'll come up. You know what? We'll let you guys, anybody at home who wants to tweet at us, the hashtag HGC, June, Decker, Kane, when they merge, what do they become? Just an Archon version? I don't know.
You know what happens when all of Tempo Storm merges?
What?
Bunker. It's so simple. There's no joke. It's just they got Blaze.
J-How
the best jokes are your own that you can laugh at.
Yep, that's how that works. We're just going to hold that as true.
Look, the good thing about having a wide audience is you cast the largest net. You're getting somebody. You might not get them all. You might not get very many, but you're getting somebody.
Are you getting the minnows or the sharks?
Probably the Brightwing.
Oh,
I'm laughing so hard, my hips starting to hurt.
Yeah, calm down there, old man. We don't want you to hurt up here, Gentle Giant.
You know, if we get Deckard at 20, you're going to respect your elders.
Brightwing, Urel, Borno tomorrow, very much catering towards that chaos play style, if you will. It's going to be difficult for Tempo, but having the bunker is going to help out a lot with that. Having any defensive pause button within skirmishes really caters to that playstyle. Also committing to the Arthas has the opportunity as well with the Maiev to go containment disc, which should play to that playstyle of No Tomorrow rather well. I have a question now, J-How. For Tempo Storm, now that we get ourselves another off lane with the Blaze pickup, with the Arthas pickup, is there any world where somehow that's a Glorong on Maiev still, and then somehow fans moving over to the Blaze? I don't think that's the case, but something to wonder.
Phoenix, the hero who has fallen off, will make his return. Have the opportunity for the Lightning Breath salvo. Nice synergy there. But Raynor Phoenix coming in at the tail end of both of these drafts. Very auto attack focus. The kill potential clearly into the Diablo Genji style, but they needed some wave clear, needed some control over those lanes. Outside of the Urel, they don't have a lot of wave clear, but it does give them opportunities to clear out some siege camps, which there will inevitably be night camps at that 2 to 3 minute mark before the first temple phase. So you got to have some control. You can't just go all in. But we have seen teams in the past, they go all in one direction. They can pull it off. No Tomorrow being one of those teams.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, though, is that early game. These first, I don't know, I want to say maybe 4 minutes of this game, 4 to 5 minutes of this game. If No Tomorrow can hold on, then there is an opportunity. But if they do end up falling behind, I do feel like Tempo Storm with this composition and, again, talking about the battleground and how it functions here, I feel like they're very much going to get the lead and never let go.
It sounds like Tempo, the last time they were on this battleground, they've only played once this phase. It was a wild ending that they got, and that was against Heroes Hearth. And we heard from Cattle after, he's like, I don't like that map. It's too stressful. We're going to figure out if they can get win number 2 here over No Tomorrow. They see themselves up 2-0 with an Arthas each step of the way.
Nothing too wild when looking at the talents, other than we're still getting that field study out from June. Looking to be, well, researched, if you will, on that Deckard.
Who's reaching now?
Yeah, that was pretty far.
No Souls, Diablo. Makes it hard to really want to contest Vision that hard this early. See if they make a rotation up. But for now, it's just dismounting, playing the lane safe in the early game.
Off-lane matchup with No Tomorrow, running a 2-1-2 for now. It's not a full 2-1-2, it's more of a 1-1-2 with a roaming Genji. Interesting to see if they look to make anything happen with it. Even more so considering that night camp. I can't help but feel like part of the reason you see that matchup on bottom is because of that night camp. If you see any question of rotation for No Tomorrow, they have the Brightwing just immediately phase shift out. But the fact that they have the Phoenix rotating actually is a little bit more concerning, as Casa getting tethered back in, and that's going to set Tempo up for a first blood.
There's always something to be said. Why don't I just go to the top or bottom lane? the middle lane will always meet up first there.
Yeah.
They get the fast clear, came down to the bottom. Phoenix and team, they can't necessarily fast clear because the rotation is already there. That allowed Tempo Storm to make that early mid rotation for the wave clear so that they could find themselves back on the siege camp in a timely fashion, or the multiple camp. They got themselves a little extra just based off the simple overstepping of a Diablo. And that's avoidable in most circumstances.
Yeah, I think that's why you hear me talk a lot about who gets the wave clear advantage over mid rather than a different lane is based off of how often that meets in mid. Certain battlegrounds support that even more than other ones. Sky Temple's not a battleground we concern that too much on, but it still come to light at moments like here for Tempo. And the fact that they left right wing for the laning mismatch in the bottom half of the battleground is a big setback, even more so with the fact she's teleporting. Yes, she has a Genji down there, but we'll see how this works out.
Right now, Casanova continuing to take a lot of damage in the middle of these skirmishes. Both of these camps picked up relatively early, Dreadnought. You know, sometimes we see teams, they pick it up early and then get the advantage, and the other team responds late or vice versa. Here, where both teams respond late, this is one of the rare occasions where I've actually seen both teams say, hey, you know what, let's both pick it up prior to that 2-minute mark and see if we can get that advantage, and neither team gets that top lane advantage now.
But the difference for Tempo is that the Giants are available, and if they would like, they have an opportunity to set up an invade capability over that of No Tomorrow on top of those. No Tomorrow is just now starting them. Galarong is going to be able to scout it out. The question is, does Tempo want to? They already have about a 3/4 level advantage, not a full 3/4 based on the experience on bottom lane. They're going to play it passive. They're going to play it a little bit slower here. And now with the Giant timing, it's actually favorable for No Tomorrow, minus the experience problem they're enduring.
And now, you know, neither team got that. As Vin goes forward, nice knockback on that jump in by Jin. But we oftentimes speak about the impact that that top camp has, that as long as it softens up that wall enough, the entire top temple can get you an early fort. Tempo Storm accomplished about 40 to 50% of that temple. They're contesting for now, and they're going to make a rotation onto this, but the Brightwing factor can change it all right here.
Combo goes in. Vin eating a lot of damage there. Jay Shrite with the auto attack trying to find a reset, but Casanova is going to be the first to fall in the fight. Hammer comes out, knocking Vin and the back lines out from Jin. Comps are low on the shield. Polymorph coming out. Swift Strike there as Fan ends up getting the vault. Scroll Ceiling comes through. The two-man tether. Fan throwing out that damage, and somehow he clutches it out. Holds on that Maiev. But Akaface not done. Answers with a Polymorph back, and actually sets that at a 2-for-2.
Oh, but Glaurung's now here. He's trying to see if he can join in. Akaface.
That hammer was so clutch.
Now we're going to see Tomster continuing to track this down. Tomster making use of that Arsenal synergy at 1, has tracked down and dished out a lot of damage in this skirmish. There's going to be the dive in, and that actually saves the overpower as Glaurung came in for the stun. We get the trade out on a Phoenix on the backside. Jin will die as the second member here. Well, there's the knockback momentarily. But Glaurung saves one side. They get the kill on the other side. Very rarely, I think, do we see Sky Temple games open up this crazy.
And the fact that Tempo Storm has a full level advantage here, J-Hal, before any forts go down, before first Temple phase goes down.
It's scary.
J-Hal, we talked about the first 5 minutes of this game, but this is about as bad as it could have gotten, I feel like, in terms of getting this big of an advantage before the shots are even consumed. Top fort, down. Almost a full 2 levels.
Yeah, contextually, it's a matter of by the time you get 10 during the second temple phase and the control that you have with this experience advantage, Tempo Storm can make a lot happen. And that's why it could be bad for No Tomorrow. Their backs are already against the wall with those early kills, so Tempo Storm is in a position to where they get 10 early. Maybe they get a boss. Maybe they make a play around something, and it's almost impossible for No Tomorrow to get back into that. So they're going to find their chance elsewhere.
Yeah.
They'll get this kill, but they will give up the boss for this, and this is just going to buy time.
They might not even get the kill, at least not yet. Jay Shrite is going to have to body block the next jet propulsion. He has a Switch Strike available. There it is. Polymorph, body blocks on it, and Glaurung goes out.
They're going to give up a boss. That kill does give them some extra in the comeback experience department. Every second, though, that they waited, they were missing out on experience in other ways. That siege camp at the bottom was pushing them into that bottom fort, which makes this boss far easier to pick up and push forward. They'll get another siege camp here, making this bottom fort indefensible, which makes the bottom temple even more valuable as we go forward. So that kill was okay, but they still find themselves in a difficult position. This is tough, Dread.
It is. It's just one of those, the situation, you know, kind of really it's just tempo with the advantage that they were able to get. It's kind of the byproduct. Yeah, the kill on the opposite side of the battleground, though that is no tomorrow, minimizing damages as much as they can. It's just kind of one of those, well, with the first shrines going as poorly as they did, you have to deal with this situation, and they're dealing with it. Jin
nice
with a clutch knockback there, able to keep himself alive with the Hyperion already out. Keep front wall already dealt with. Giants now here. 10 is picked up for no tomorrow, but the boss is the keep is the focus here for tempo.
I mean, if they get keep here, this is a massive lead.
They should cage if they're going to.
Jin is going to eat that ball stun. Pops the Ardent Defender here. Bunker goes down. They're trying to help confirm this. See if no tomorrow tries to turn this fight. There's the tether in on Casanova. Gets the charge out. Blink Heal comes over, but he's going to fall, as does the keep. Tempo Storm. This is an insane lead for Tempo Storm. 7 minutes into the game, they get a keep.
Already getting the 13 talents here in just a couple of seconds. No tomorrow, at this point, has 2 major future fights they can rely on. And you know what? That's unfair to say that they can rely on, but they definitely can try to aim for, is the best way to describe that. Boss is not for another 5 minutes. So that is going to be the go-to. We don't know what that landscape is going to look like at that point in time. And the other one's going to just be either a double giant or a night camp stacking on top and just sieging and hoping that somehow tempo bites off more than they can chew.
Genji gets rooted. 13 talent here means extra damage. There comes the salvo out. No real slow, but they do get the knockback on Devin. That is a kill. That is a clutch kill that they are able to pick up. Warden's Cage will buy time and space and keep them locked in. It'd be good if No Tomorrow could take down that turret, because that turret is peppering them with shots. And a 5-man stay a while and listen as Fan trying to get the resets. Tempo Storm looking to re-engage.
Tempo is just trying to buy time. The whole time, Glorong is split pushing on top. They are literally, since the Warden's Cage 25 seconds ago, they are just like, hey, can we keep them busy? Because we are gaining far more out of this, and they are over these shots on bottom. Tempo is not worried about the fight, Jay-How. It's about keeping them busy. Fan is going to be the focus as the Shadow Charge come through. 2-man Howling Blast is there. Fan, will he get out? Has the follow-up and tethers it back.
He makes sure, he's like, look, I'm fine here. I'm going to make a little more magic happen, as this is just the second temple phase finally ending.
Oh,
and they're still keeping them around. Jin trying to survive. I mean, we're going to keep our eyes here, but wait until you see the damage that has come out from Blaze. And No Tomorrow, they're going to try and take a fight right here, and it's happening.
Dragon Blade is out. Fan is going to be the focus, almost accepting his fate for a moment there as the Lightning Breath is there. Howling Blast, he finds the very first kill. Toms are falling low, is able to barely survive, but Finn taking the 1v1 against Jay Shrite. He's going to eat a Shadow Charge. Jay Shrite, Howling Blast there. Willie Cyber Agility, not off cooldown, ends up dropping. And now we see No Tomorrow losing another member. And meanwhile, in his natural habitat here, Glorong in the northern lane, destroying that key front wall, taking out the well, and setting up that next altar phase to just secure another keep.
It's wild to think. Very rarely, I think, have I ever seen a game on Sky Temple that by the time the second temple phase is done, there's only 2 keeps standing, and one of those keeps has already lost that wall. This looks like my Sylvanas games, Dread.
Yeah, it really, I'm not surprised, man. The game's against you, right? Because you picked Sylvanas, and so you're getting pressured really hard, not the ones that you backdoor.
Yes, I sacrifice 1 keep so that I can possess catapults the rest of the game. Dreadnought, are you ever listening?
No, apparently not. But no, I agree with you. It's been a long while since you've seen this level of approach, because usually what happens is when Tempo gets an advantage like they do, they don't get as much done in between the shrine phases as much as Tempo was, but they got an entire keep in that time frame, and as you saw in the top half, Glorong prepping up that top keep. And now they're going to go for a night camp invade, as they already have the top night camp pushing into their favor. This double stack will confirm that top keep for Tempo as the Howling Blast lands onto Jin. Scrolling ceiling, interrupted, and another kill. This definitely means that top keep is the Warden Cage. Stay a while and listen. it is just domination here by Tempo Storm. And Jayhawk, I think they're going to just go for core.
Yeah, I think it goes from keep to core pretty quick here. This is about from 0 to 111-minute game, ending through the top lane. No doubt, Catapults and Siege Giants in the bottom. Tempo Storm has taken the shields off of No Tomorrow and will take them down. This effectively puts No Tomorrow into the Crucible, and Tempo Storm will retain their #2 spot for this weekend. No Tomorrow maybe let things slip away towards the later end of this series, but they fought strong. They really tried to force the issue in game #3, but they will be in the Crucible. No Tomorrow picking up another key victory in their chase towards BlizzCon.
The biggest thing about that last game, again, comes down to the very first Shrine phase. A lot of that was set up by Tempo Storm, but Tempo Storm doing a really good job here, putting up more argument here towards the Arthas and the value of that, having it in all 3 of their games. It looked very, very good. Both, or every single game, or majority of the games, even with the Maiev on their team, rather than just a response to the Maiev. So it'd be cool to see that moving forward, but Tempo, this is one of those moments where you go, their skill gap was there. They performed, I think, as expected. So looking at the 3 games here, you know, do we feel like No Tomorrow was able to better themselves, and especially compared to the performance we got last week? And I still feel like last game, it's hard to judge based on its sky tempo, and it got too sour too fast. But first games, 1 and 2, I look at that and I go, No Tomorrow definitely improved.
It does bring up the question for the teams from Open Division. I mean, if you don't pay attention to the Open Division, you're missing out. We've got Storm, who was one of the teams that qualified. 3 ex-BlizzCon competitors from the Southeast Asian region came over, moved over, got all the paperwork taken care of. They qualified. They qualified as the #2 spot, which means that our #1 seed, Scythe, they got picked up. I see these teams. First off, you got to start questioning, do we actually want to pick No Tomorrow? That would have been the clear-cut answer maybe a few weeks ago, maybe not so much anymore. But Scythe is a team that I've watched play. They have a lot of very good macro control. I think it stands toe-to-toe. It's just, for me, it's going to be a matter of macro by the time that we get there. We're still a few weeks out from that. But there are some things to consider when we start looking at a team like No Tomorrow. I don't think this is the easy-out team that some people anticipated. Since their role swaps, they have shining moments, and when they put it together, they did it on Friday. They won their series confidently, but here they fall to Tempo Storm, one of the best that we've had for over several years. So it is something for them that, for No Tomorrow, they have a bright enough future for tomorrow.
See what he did there? No, who's reaching now, I think is the quote that we need to be dropping there. But no, that is, I completely agree. No Tomorrow here this weekend alone, I feel like, has been very much a highlight, at least from my perspective here. And it just feels like Tempo, in this type of situation, I guess it's just very much did what they did. I feel like maybe a little bit more dominant, especially towards the last game, than maybe you would have originally expected, considering they had triple Arthas. But overall speaking here, I don't know. I feel bad because I'm looking at this and I'm like, No Tomorrow is my pleasant surprise out of this. And it's not like it's taken away from Tempo. It's just, this is what we know and love, I guess, from this roster.
I can't wait till we get to talk to Tempo, because we have some time when we talk to them, but I'm really curious. They are the one team right now that is sticking to their meta.
Yeah.
Everybody else is maybe a little here, maybe a little there, maybe a little double support, maybe a main tank Zul. The Arthas is a little wild compared to what we anticipated, but from some of the drastic meta changes that we've seen, Tempo Storm has been the harshest in saying, we're playing with what we know. An Arthas pick makes sense for us in terms of how we like to play. Juna's following up on all the slows in CC. We're allowing the backliners to excel. The Maiev for Fan is insane right now. He's killing it. And so it works with their style. But they are the one team that are sticking to their meta. So when we, in 2 weeks, when we get to the playoffs, see if any of that changes and how much evolves over these final few weeks.
And it's even cooler in the fact that if you're Tempo Storm, I can see you strategically approaching this weekend as going, we don't have any major concerns, right? As long as they are able to hold their own against a team like No Tomorrow, and it wasn't a big enough resurgence for No Tomorrow to be like, okay, suddenly No Tempo Storm is shaking in their boots. So I can see Tempo going, we've actually been slightly practicing actually different than what we're running right now, because in the long run, we think that should be that meta, but it's going this weekend. We can still win with a bit more traditional, and I think that also as we move forward, I feel like Tempo's iteration of the Arthas is actually the most clever. I think the Maiev in both directions, the Arthas intricacies of that matchup of having the Frozen Tempest plus the Tether, it really hurts teams. Because a lot of people, I didn't even talk about this the first time we saw it, but when you just remove the tether on top of with the Frozen Tempest target coming in, as long as they have any movement speed debuff, then suddenly the Maiev has higher chances of enabling that tether into a prime position. You do that, you're only furthering how many ticks of the Frozen Tempest you're going to eat. Suddenly you're at full stacks and you're just like, oh my goodness, can I get out from my opponent's side? It hurts so bad.
Every time I see these drafts, Phoenix, Raynor has risen in priority.
Yep.
You've mentioned how Army of the Dead blocks Leeming skill shots. Those have kind of been the trifecta. Thrall in the middle of this has been very prominent in our meta for quite some time. All of these heroes, you're not taking down an Arthas that fast. Army of the Dead can keep him alive through so many situations. So I wonder if some teams will start to develop some different strategies to deal with this, but the way that they draft it. They can draft it at the front end. They can draft it at the back end of their draft. You want to pick an early Raynor? That's nice. You want to pick a Genji? That's nice. I'm Arthas. I'm fine. I will live here forever. Very rarely have we seen Cattle in any compromised situations, and if it is, it seems like a calculated approach to saying, I can move in here. It's okay if I sacrifice myself because I've done enough work for my team to follow up. So Tempo Storm's approach has been quite unique. It's working for them right now. So it is interesting when we do get to the playoffs. I'm telling you, man, like seeing the contrast of what we saw from most teams versus what they have. I mean, it is colliding soon.
And I think that's the biggest thing to talk about is even though I'm like, oh, you know, I like Tempo's iteration of the Arthas, I'm still sitting this and I go, though Tempo is the closest to what I understand of, like, you know, the most optimal way to play the game as it currently stands looking internationally and just, I don't know, the past 4 years of competitive heroes, like, it's closer to that model, but it's not necessarily, I'm sitting here going, I think it's necessarily the best because I think it's clear that there is a big enough hole within this patch specifically that goes, it might not be the most optimal. It could be the double support. It could be the wave clear on Warriors. Actually might be the biggest indicator on how you're going to be successful. But either way, it is one of those, like, suddenly is the Arthas of Tempo Storm? Does it even matter, I think is the better question.
Leeming skill shots are blocked. Not enough damage coming out from Phoenix and Raynor. Mephisto soon. I'm telling you that. Well, we get to talk to Cattle, the Arthas player himself, for the victory today. Cattle, congrats, and, you know, we're curious. The Arthas has come out a lot lately for your team, and we were just highlighting some of the pros that your team has on the Arthas, maybe in your composition versus the others. How did the Arthas really come about to be such a prominent part of your drafts?
I'm not sure, really. We've just kind of been testing him recently. He does seem like he has his spot in the meta, especially against some of the melee heroes he's really good against, just because he doesn't really give them any out. So if you ever start winning a fight, you're never going to stop winning the fight. And he's in a pretty decent spot, and he's good at punishing some of the more popular support picks right now, so he feels pretty good overall.
Well, let's talk about some of the popular support picks, because we look at the landscape of the rest of North America, even some EU this morning, and that meta looks far different than what you guys are running right now. Is there any concern of adaptation? Dread hypothesized maybe you're hiding some stuff going forward. You're clearly practicing a lot. But do you look around and say, hey, we can stand up to this, or do you anticipate maybe some changes coming in for you all?
I think we change draft if it looks like we need to change draft in the game. Just depending on bans, we were pretty comfortable going the route we did today, but we've been practicing a bunch of different options just to make sure that once we get to playoffs, we can play whatever style we need to every game.
That's good to hear. I'm sure there will be some interesting changes by the time we get there. I'm going to send you over to Dread.
Cattle, I've got to go ahead and ask how, you know, comms-wise and things of the like in that last game on Sky Temple, what was going on through the mind while you guys are sieging up a keep at 7 minutes into a Sky Temple game? Because that was one of the most proactive and early game advantages on Sky Temple me and J-Hal, I feel like, both had seen.
We were pretty relaxed, honestly. We were in such a good spot and so far ahead that nothing could really even go wrong there. We had double Merc camp and just basically ran it down. They can't really chase us yet just because their comp isn't strong enough, and then once they were getting 10, we were pretty sure they'd go blink heal anyways, which takes the bridge stud away, and then it was pretty easy keeping out.
And then when you take that along with the kind of blaze off lane pressure while you guys are willing to look for that, like, 4-man, I don't want to say it was a full attempt on a fight, but definitely trying to make sure that they don't get back for free and getting value there. Was that the original call at that point in time, or was it just more reactionary based on what you got from No Tomorrow with that rotation?
We were definitely calling to just keep them there 4v5, buy as much time for Blaze as we can, because we don't really need to do anything anymore, because once you're that far ahead on Sky Temple, it basically turns into Blackheart's Bay, and you just kind of stand around and wait to slowly win. And we only started stepping up because we felt confident enough that we could actually win the 4v5, just because our heroes are all so tanky and they didn't really have an answer for it. So we just kind of slowly inched forward until finally we get the comms from Judy's like, it's 4v5? even though it was like the first thing we said, we're like, guys, it's 4v5, be careful.
So it's always a good time when you walk away from a fight and then you realize, wait a minute, that was 4 versus 5 the entire time there. And last question coming out from me. I know everybody's running different metas. Everything's a little bit wild, and I don't think there is anything uniform. But one specific iteration that stands out to me is the double support. Going into the future, do you think that, I guess in the past it used to feel like it suffered heavily in the macro game, but with the turret ammo removal and things of the like, do you think that that may be the direction that it is in fact headed, at least on this current patch?
I definitely think it's heading kind of in that direction, but at the same time, I do think that macro is still the counter, and teams are getting pretty good at playing that kind of style against double support. So it's still, even though double support feels really, really strong at times, I still feel like there's that inherent risk to it where you just kind of get run around the map the entire time. And if you can't get like a grasp on the game, then you can't really ever get it back. But if you get like into those situations where it shines, it's really strong.
Well, thank you very much there for that insight, Cattle, and congratulations here on the win. I'm going to give you back to JL.
Cattle, your next opponent is endemic, but the big picture is playoffs, seeding, getting to that top spot and getting that number 2 spot. When you look around and it comes to seeding and your opponents, we've seen the rise of Octalis. As we know, Team Freedom is always a difficult out. How important to you right now is the seeding to make sure and get as much information from watching your opponents, as well as maybe not having to face so many for that run? How important is it right now when you look at just getting this one more win, getting into that number 2 seed?
It's pretty much what matters most right now. We want to play 1 series. That's it. We want to be 1 and done. 2 series is way too many. So we're gonna make sure we win next weekend, get 2nd seed, and then we can just watch, practice as much as we need to, and then play our 1 series and win.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch the rest of the way. That's going to do it here, but the floor is yours for shoutouts.
Yeah, as always, shout outs to Tempo Storm and all of our sponsors, Red Bull, Twitch, NVIDIA, Overwolf, and Kick-Ass Beef Jerky. Thanks for the support. Shout out to my team for making me do the interview again. This time it was technical difficulties, but whatever. I'm here again. Sorry to disappoint everyone. And shout out to all my subs, and shout outs to Akali for not screwing around during the games.
Cattle, it's always fun for us to hear from you and your insight. We appreciate you can be here anytime. Congrats on the win today.
Thanks.
I always like hearing from him. He gives some of the best insight. People, I said it last year, I say it again this year, I continue to say it. One of the smartest people, every time I hear him talk, when we're at LAN events, and I don't even have to be a part of the conversation. You can overhear the thought process that he puts into the game and the way that he thinks about the game, being on the front line for this team. Literally one of the smartest people I've heard talk about this game. Maybe it's the way he talks, I don't know, but he sounds super smart. Everything he says, it makes sense. It's always a treat to hear his perspective because it's so well thought out in every aspect of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And the biggest thing for me when talking to Cattle, I feel like, because we do have quite a few bright players, but I would even then put him among, one of the smarter minds we have here in Competitive Heroes. But it is hearing his ability to share, I think, is a big difference from him and a lot of other people, is that you see this level of almost exclusiveness to the information, and I can't show you what I think about double support, because then suddenly I feel like I'm enabling so many other people. And I think that ability to share, if anything, only furthers that, confidence levels in showing that he very much is like, yeah, I can help you with a little bit of insight. I'm not going to give you everything on my perspective, but enough to be like, here is our approach, and, again, future insights.
It's cool.
It is.
Dreadnought, last phase, week 10, there was some things that didn't really matter. I can tell you one thing. Phase number 2, week 10 matters for a lot of our teams, and it kicks off on next Friday. And it is wild across the board. In EU, Leftovers coming hot off their victory against Dignitas will look to continue to climb in EU. They'll face off against Granite Gaming, also confirmed for the playoffs. Dignitas going up against Roll20, maybe getting some frustrations out after their loss today, but then we turn our attention to NA, where every series matters.
A lot is going to be on the line, and mainly when looking at No Tomorrow versus LFM Esports. It could be in a position where we will confidently know who is going to be into the Crucible, depending on the results of that one. And then Endemic versus Tempo Storm to solidify the positioning of some of our teams, mainly that of Tempo Storm, within our playoffs.
Dreadnought, LFM, if I'm not mistaken, if they 3-0 against No Tomorrow, we're going to double check some numbers, but I'm pretty confident in this. If they 3-0 No Tomorrow, Simplicity taking a hike to Crucible.
Yeah.
I mean, when you control your own fate, if you don't win, and even if you do win, and depending on how you win, then a whole lot more comes into play, and Simplicity doesn't play till Saturday, and you've got to wait for somebody else to be like, wait, if you win or lose, that determines on whether I play in a few weeks or not, or whether I play next weekend or in a few weeks. I can tell you one thing, LFM, they're going to be try-harding, practicing like crazy this week. It's going to be a wild Week 10.
It is, and it's even greater in the fact that that series is two teams who have spent a lot of time trying to find who they are, and I can't feel, but both of them, it hurts, but it's still amazing to be able to see that. It seems like they found it a little bit later than any of them would have liked, but they very much are on an upward swing, and so suddenly, out of those two, who is the one who has been able to overcome those challenges quicker and more effectively?
It's going to be exciting. LFM, I still remember, Fury, your tweet from earlier this phase. You said, the long haul, you're playing for the playoffs. Good luck next Friday. That's going to do it for us here in week number 9. We'll see you week 10 next week here at HGC North America. Moment where I'm like, all right, a lot of heroics were used. Casanova, no iron skin left available. There's the Dragon Arrow, but another short-range Dragon Arrow, Dread. Then, however,
Ancient Blessings, it hurts. 4-man proc there.
Cattle.
Maybe in a tough moment, but the sidewall actually so low that he's not going to be too problematic. Brick Tire comes through, and is it going to get it from downtown? It will.
Wow. See, that number has appeared now. 24. Concussion Mine will knock back a couple of members, but Glaurung is sticking to Casanova. The Dragon Arrow is going to land.
Last right.
The last rights. That's going to confirm the kill. Glaurung super low, but he walks away. His Army of the Dead is out in Catalan team. They're trying to confirm more as Jin and Thompson are locked in. That's one fan of Knives. Ardent Defender, you might just want to let that one go because, Jin, you're not living for long. That's a triple kill.
Comes through, and they march on to core.
I think they need to get this Riptire out before it is too late, as it might be too late as the damage comes in, and that's going to be Tomster falling. There's going to be some resets for Fan. Then the last rights will confirm another kill.
For No Tomorrow, and now they're going to force.
They can't keep giving these up. It's making it way too difficult. No dive in there by Shrite. Tomster trying to survive, and there's the stay a while and listen as Tomster trying to get out of there, buys time for the moment, but the X-Strike comes down in return, unable to get the kill. Vin being tracked down upon by Jin, who looks like he's going to fall, but Ardent Defender will keep him alive for a few more moments. See if he can make things happen because it looks grim right now.
Shrite going back in for another reset attempt, and Vin actually healing himself up there. Great job.
Oh my.
And the blink heal coming out from Akaface, keeping Jin alive as well. Teleport is going to give Jin the shield, the armor. Coming back there is Glaurung trying to split Jay Shrite, goes back in again for another reset, but does not find it. Tempo somehow heal and hold on there. Jin leaps over, getting desperate, knowing that timing is going to be difficult. Throws down the hammer. Glaurung under pressure. There's the bolt. We see Jin get pressured as the judgment comes out. X-Strike goes in. Vin is the first to drop. Stormbolt ends up landing onto Thompson now as Glaurung goes in, finds himself the first kill here for Tempo Storm. The altar is up. Any channel will end this game for Tempo. Pressure there onto Jay Shrite. Akaface questioning what he wants to make happen as Jin leaps back. Scroll of Ceiling goes through. Ardent Defender getting the heals out for Jin.
Oh, I think he forgot. That is not their tower. Shrite eating shots. He'll have to try and get away. There's going to be a kill onto Akaface, and Fan, he's trying to make the confirmation as Shrite trying to walk away, but he will eat a Stormbolt
in that time frame. And as you saw in the top half, Glaurung prepping up that top keep. And now they're going to go for a Night Camp invade, as they already have the top Night Camp pushing into their favor. This double stack will confirm that top keep for Tempo as the Howling Blast lands onto Jin. Scrolling Ceiling, interrupted, and another kill. This definitely means that top keep is the Warden Cage. Stay a while and listen. It is just domination here by Tempo Storm and Jayhawk. I think they're going to just go for core.
Yeah, I think it goes from keep to core pretty quick here. This is about from 0 to 111-minute game, ending through the top lane.